It's so clear.
Yeah.
Do you ever have static?
Sometimes there's a little buzz in the background, but this is some high quality shindig stuff, so normally not.
I have to say, those headphones look amazing on you.
I wonder if that's why everyone's so awkward in the beginning of the podcast. They're like, what's up with your face?
Yeah.
Do I look bald?
Yeah, well, your hair is pulled back, and then you also have just, like, two
This is why hats don't look good on
know.
me.
Well, you look like you have a head brace on.
Still got the smoker's lung.
Yeah.
Okay, so today here on the pod.
Wait, have you already been recording?
Here on the pod, maybe I should make this a guessing game and see if people can tell who you are. Yeah. For all of my 45 listeners out there.
45, that's impressive. I thought it was 13.
That was the highest number on my video. But will spoil it, and I'm on the pod today with my sister, my sissy boo,
sissy boo boo,
Hallie, and
oh, you even said my name right,
which is a story in itself, but we won't go there. So Hallie, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself to start it out, so people who you know who you are.
Yeah, I'm Hallie. I'm your sister. Woo! I am just graduated with my nursing degree, so I'm planning to move out here soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. Grew up with you as my sister, so if you know anything about Hannah, our life was pretty adventurous from just out of the womb. She used to steal my Cheerios, and it's always been me following her and looking up to her, but life's always been fun. Had a pretty basic life. Basic childhood.
So you went to school where?
I went to school at Northern Michigan. I was supposed to go to Ohio State, but that kind of plans changed last minute. I was actually supposed to go for chemistry, which is really funny to me now because I wanted to be a pharmacist, but now I loved chemistry. Chemistry's my favorite. So, but I ended up going to Northern Michigan, and I was going to go for a semester and then transfer to Ohio State, and I put down as nursing as my career or major, and then I ended up falling in love with Marquette and being outdoors. I was a pretty lazy child, so once I got to Marquette, though, that kind of all changed, which is really good for me. Not that it's instinctual. I do still like to sit on the couch and watch TV with potato chips, but I also really love being outdoors.
So how do you think going to Marquette has changed? Well, would you say that you understand you more, or your concept of yourself has changed after going to school in that environment?
Yeah, definitely. I changed a lot when I went to school there.
But do you think it brought out more of who you are?
Yeah.
Or it challenged you in areas that you weren't previously comfortable in? It brought out a new side to you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it more challenged me in areas that I wasn't used to, that I wasn't known for, and then I realized that's like something I really love to do. I like to try new things and be outdoors and experience the world more. It put a passion in me to see more of the world. So, and at the end of my high school career, I went on 2 mission trips to Peru and Jamaica, and that kind of is what kick-started me loving being outdoors.
Oh, that's right.
And wanting to see more of the world.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel like once you did that little bit of travel, it made traveling up to Marquette easier?
Yeah. Well, also I had you, so
yeah.
That wasn't, I've never really taken, I think the biggest leap I've taken is going to camp this past summer. Which still wasn't a leap because you were an hour away. But still,
it was a leap.
It was a new environment.
You should tell, that was an interesting story, and I think probably very relatable in everyone's life, where at least again and again, I think a theme of life is that you fail and then like that's a common denominator, just like succeeding is a common denominator. You're going to have both in life, but then you have to decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And-
I would say I fail a lot. I don't necessarily fail, but you know, you have like plans for yourself or
And then
dreams,
they change.
and I fail from achieving that dream, but another dream comes along that's even better, if that makes sense.
Right.
Another plan. I guess I should say more planning. My bug ears are staying on my head too well.
So go ahead and tell that story of the how
Of
you got
last
involved
summer?
in the camp. Yeah, where you failed and then it brought
Yeah,
about
well,
this
even
new
like
experience.
Ohio State, not that I failed to get in, but I failed
Right.
to meet, the deadline to get a really big scholarship.
Right.
So that's what led me to Northern Michigan for a semester, and I wouldn't be the same person if I had gone to Ohio State. Both my best friends at the time went there, and it was kind of more my safety path than going 7 hours away. And then last summer, I had applied for an internship at Mott Children's, which is where my mom works. It was kind of a set in stone thing. We thought for sure I'd get it. And then last minute, they cut the program in half. And
That's right.
like right after the interviews, one of the new heads came in and said, you can only pick one for each unit. And they didn't pick me. So 4 units had wanted me, and the guy said that it was probably more primarily that he thought I was already prepared enough and like didn't need that experience as much as some others. But that might have been him just trying to be nice to me because I was very brokenhearted. Really didn't see it coming at all. My mom didn't see it coming at all. We weren't preparing for the worst. So you know, then I kind of was proposed with, well, what am I going to do? It's my last summer, last chance to do something new and different. And I had a boyfriend at the time who lived here, and he had heard of a camp counselor position and that it was really fun. And I did want to work. I want to be a pediatric nurse, so I wanted to work with children and get more experience. And I interviewed, and sure enough, a month later, I was flying out here, and I really didn't think of it as a big deal until I pulled up to camp and realized that I was about to live all summer with 40 strangers, one of them being my boyfriend, who really I didn't even know that well myself. So, but it was the best summer for me. I learned a lot about myself and my voice. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's like a very relatable experience, though, of, you know, you fail
Yeah.
in a certain part. I always come back to traveling in the van was a huge dream of mine, is a huge dream of mine, but the timing and the van and the logistics of what I had set up wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
And it led me, though, into like my current housing situation, which has brought me a lot of friends and a lot of love and a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had.
Yeah.
And I feel like our media doesn't like talk about that enough. And maybe it does, and maybe you just don't like, maybe you don't ever think, maybe it's like a car crash where you don't ever think it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And maybe that really is, actually, now that I say that, what like all the Disney stories are about, of where you fail and then, but I don't, you know, actually I take that back. I think they often, cinema shows the failure part, but it doesn't show how life is always going to fail, and it's going to change in a way that you don't expect, and it doesn't necessarily have to be good or labeled as good or bad, but it is going to change, and you just have to ride that wave, because that's the way, that's just how life is. You're going to fail in times and you're going to succeed in times, and I'm putting air quotes on those words because really it's all a journey of your experience here, and you can either label that as a success or you can label that as a failure. So you're getting to be a camp counselor all summer and sleep out in a hammock every single night versus spending time in a hospital. You know, to a lot of people, that story told in a different way would be considered a success.
Yeah,
and the other
it's all about
alternative
perspective,
would have been a failure. So
yeah, and I think that's something, I've had enough failures in my life where always something down the road came that was better, and I think it's all about recognizing that there's a plan for you and there's a path, and life doesn't always work out, but to know that there's a reason. for me at least, that's like one of my truths is I believe that life has a plan and there's a reason for everything. And a lot of times it's hard to find that reason in such times of heartbreak and sadness and things you can't describe. And you don't always know the reason. Maybe that reason for your heartbreak was someone else's, like they needed that in their life. You know, you never know, but it's all about perspective. And I've been fortunate enough to see why I've been heartbroken or had disappointments in my life for something better to come along, and it's given me more security with this time of my life of trusting that I'll end up
something will come out of it
where I'm supposed to be. And I, you know, every time I get an email that says you have not been offered a position or you haven't been selected to interview, it's like, well, that wasn't my path for this time.
Yeah, I've been actually thinking about that a lot lately with the opening of our new children's hospital here in southern Colorado Springs, because it's been a huge challenge and a lot of questioning of if I'm at the right facility to be doing what I'm doing, and but every time I come away from it, I recognize how much it challenges me and how much it pushes me to have more patience and more stress management, and how much it's preparing me if I ever want to do travel nursing and things like that. And those are all important things I think to keep in mind too when you're going through the hardship is, wow, I really believe in the phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Because like if I can get through this and learn how to cope with all this healthily, then it could be, I mean, that's just one more skill set that you have for later in life.
Yeah. That's a good point. It will make you stronger for travel nursing because you're going to learn. I mean, with travel nursing, usually you're going to hospitals where they can't hire enough staff to keep it, and it's not always, it's going to be different systems. And
yeah, it's literally what we're doing.
Yeah.
So what skill set do you think that you've added to your toolbox having gone through these changes in what you thought was going to be your path?
This kind of feels like an interview for a job right now, where I have to come up with an answer on the spot.
Just take it. You can take it.
No, my skills that I've added to my tool set for handling this right now, patience would be a huge one. Especially, like, it's an awkward period when, you know, everyone graduates, and for most jobs, you get a job right away. Even in Michigan for nursing, a lot of students get a job right away.
Particularly in nursing, not in most jobs.
Yeah,
but
I guess,
nursing,
yeah. So to be the one that's like, oh, I'm still working as a waitress, and I don't really know where I'm going yet. It's hard to explain to people because I think people think I'm not. I worry that people think I'm not, you know, going to be ambitious or do these amazing things. They think I'm going to stick around, you know. But I know in my heart that
also could be a story that you're telling yourself of what people are thinking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which is another topic that we can talk
that's
about.
all judgment is your insecurities talking in other people's voices.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again.
Judgment is your own insecurities talking in other people's voices.
I like that. That is so true. So patience is one of yours.
Yeah.
And do you have any other tips or tricks you've added to your toolbox?
Tips or tricks? I would say not to get so hard or down on yourself. I think it's easy, you know, if someone else doesn't believe in yourself or in you, the first thing you do is point out 100 ways why you weren't good enough or what you could have done differently, instead of pointing out the ways, you know, that you are good and the next one will come around. Because reality is you're selling yourself in a piece of paper, which no one can truly do. And even those who sell themselves good may not really be, you know, there's so much that you can't provide in a paper, meaning the resume.
Right.
So, yeah, and believing in yourself. You have got to believe in yourself after college, I think 100%. That was a huge learning lesson for me, which I now do because you're going to get told no 100 times. So.
Right. And
leaning on people. Always, you know.
Having a support system.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that. I was listening to a meditation the other day, and it was talking about like a very common theme of loving yourself so that you can love other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times when you're being judgmental of other people, it's because that's a part of yourself that you don't feel confident in or comfortable in.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been struggling with that a lot lately.
Yeah. It's kind of like the book, Girl Wash Your Face.
Right.
There's a story in that where she makes fun of the popular girl for shaving her toes all the while she knew that she shaves her own toes.
Yeah.
Which I think is so relatable how many times we do that,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. That she's referencing the book Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis, which we're both reading right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to ask you was a quote from that book, actually, where she says, "What are some other ways you've seen yourself or someone else change who they are in order to be accepted or make others comfortable?" So this is a little bit different than judging other people. This is another topic of you make yourself basically smaller or more moldable
Mm-hmm. To fit
in order to be accepted or to make others more comfortable, which I think is a super interesting part.
Yeah. Can I tell like when I have done that? Or you want me to say someone else has done that?
No.
Because I don't think you even fully know when someone else is doing. I did that a lot,
Yeah,
though.
it's you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I did that a lot in middle school, I would say, and part of high school, probably up until my senior year of high school. I ran around with a lot of crowds. You know, I was friends with a lot of people just because I was positive and happy and easy to get along with.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the popular crowd, why they liked me in middle school was because I was like the crazy girl, if that makes sense. And I really made myself look like I was really dumb and just like was always like not crazy in the sense like hyper, like ditzy, people would say, and I hate the word ditzy because of that time, because I knew in my heart, like,
It's like I hate when people call me weird.
Yeah. But I knew I was really intelligent and I was really smart, and I wasn't this girl who, you know, didn't know, like, acted stupid all the time and wild and hyper, but that's what they liked, so I would do that to, like, fit in with them because they thought that was funny, and I couldn't relate to them on the humor level. Which I blame for not watching SpongeBob as a child. I'm just teasing. But I definitely conformed, and that was not me. And I remember just feeling like I never fit in, so I would, you know, be even crazier just to fit in.
Right. Do you have anything to say about the part where you've changed yourself or something that you would say to make others feel more comfortable? So, like, being non-confrontational about a topic or not sharing about a part of yourself that you're actually really passionate about in order to make people feel less comfortable? Because I think that's also super common.
To not share a part of yourself?
If you're, like, a people person, like a people pleaser, I guess, you'll say, or I catch myself saying things that I know people want to hear versus what I actually think about things.
Yeah. For sure. I do that a lot of times, you know, like with parents or nowadays, because I feel like nowadays I've become so comfortable with who I am. And I'm not afraid to admit that, like, I have religion, which at first in college, that's something like I hid from a lot of people, that I have a faith life or, you know, that I like that. In high school, that wasn't a problem because we went to a Catholic school. Or, like, you know, when I was younger, I loved playing, like, Sims and computer games and stuff. And actually, me and Emma is my best friend. We bought it the other day, and I was just like, I owned it because I really don't play it anymore now. It's silly to me and not fun at all.
Yeah, but it's a part that you love, and
but
that's
it was
who you
something I loved, computer games growing up, and I used to hide that from a lot of people. Or there's a lot of strange quirks about me. Almost said the word weird, but didn't want to offend you.
I still don't really know why I don't like that word, but
but I think so. Right now, I currently have a friend in my life who was very much raised to accept who he is in every single way. And, you know, sometimes we tease each other a lot and nothing phases him. And maybe it does deep down, but I really don't think so, because his phrase always is like, if you don't accept me and love me for who I am, then someone else will. And, you know, you don't need to be in my life. Like, don't hang out with me then.
Right.
Which is so true. Like,
so true.
why do you, and that really, like, changed, it sounds so silly to say, but, like, that changed my perspective on a lot of things lately. It's like, well, if you don't like me, then why would you hang out with me? Why would I conform?
Right.
But as a kid, you don't realize that.
Right. And though, like, if you continue to conform and not share that, like, true part of you, you're just going to end up making friends with all these people that you constantly have to remold who you are around, which is exhausting. And I don't think it brings out, it makes you feel lost, it makes you feel disconnected.
Yeah.
And currently, we live in a society where depression is at its highest, anxiety is at its highest, and a lot of the causes that the research says is because people literally, they just feel lonely. They feel it's a hard world to live in, to feel connected, and I think technology plays a lot into that, but also that concept right there, which is super basic, but
it's hard to understand and truly accept.
I
still struggle with it.
And almost, though, to be vulnerable enough to be who you are and accept the fact that you might get rejected and not have that person as friends then.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure. I think also I hope for society that we start becoming more accepting of others' differences, because at the end of the day, even your best friends who you are completely yourself with, you're still going to have major differences. No one's going to completely align with you.
Right.
You know, but just accepting that they have huge differences, and that's okay.
Right.
And that's what makes us all unique, you know.
Yeah.
So don't look for someone who's going to be identical to you, because that's not fun.
Right. No, and I think that's super a good segue to bring up the new Instagram page that you started about accepting, you know, yourself.
Yeah.
I think what you just said is interesting, and it relates a lot more back to like self-love and being enough for you. And then I think that makes it easier than to not point out how different you are from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell a little bit about your self-love journey?
Yeah.
And how you've been kind of entrepreneurial. You've been trying out anything.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of research. I started a journey towards better health. All my life, I've grown up. I've done probably every diet in the world. I've exercised, even when it was like chasing a donut down the street just to get me to run. I remember one time Hannah and me ran like 2 steps when I was like in 8th grade, and she was a big cross-country runner, and I was like, my heart is beating so fast I don't think like I can feel it in my chest. But I was just that out of shape. You know, I really struggled, and I tried everything. I've done very unhealthy ways of losing weight, very unhealthy ways. I've developed horrible eating habits. So about 15 weeks till I was graduating, I decided I wanted to go on this journey to a better health, but I didn't want to have that diet mindset anymore. I don't even remember what inspired me, but I was like, I'm going to drop the diet mindset and just eat what I want. But at the same time, when I say that, like, I still in my mind had this plan to eat mainly healthy all the time. But I wasn't going to cut out, you know, most diets you're cutting out some kind of major group. So, and I was going to get into exercising more. I bought this membership of this app. It's called Sweat. It's actually a really great app, and it got me to really work out, and I liked it a lot. Like the workouts, they were different every week, so I still have that. But along my journey, about 3 weeks in, something happened, and I fell off the wagon, and I think I got really sick actually, and I fell off the wagon, and I wasn't eating healthy, and I was posting every day, and I kind of just dropped off for a week, and I was really like disappointed in myself and didn't want to do it anymore. And I felt like, you know, I screwed up again.
You were posting on what though?
I was posting on my Instagram, called it, adventure to self-love.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
just want to make sure. So you started this.
Yeah, so I started an Instagram, and it was going to
Yeah.
be, I have 15 weeks till graduation. I'm going
Right.
to post every day. Here's what I'm doing. Here's my struggles, my achievements. But my struggles weren't my true struggles, you know.
Mhm.
I posted, and it was a place for me to be vulnerable about all the things in my life that I've done wrong, to maybe help someone along the way. So I had a really bad period, though, and I kind of was giving up on myself, and I was like, no, this is the whole point. It's like to keep picking yourself up instead of, I always give up on myself, and like, I'm someone I should believe in the most.
Yeah.
And during that time also,
Sorry, I'm not laughing.
no,
at you.
you're
Just the way you phrased that was so funny.
But I also, while I was doing this page, I had a lot of people reaching out to me. At first, I did not want anyone to follow it. I think I allowed Emma and
Me.
yeah, but you were really hard for me to let you follow, actually, too.
Oh, really?
I didn't want anyone close that. I don't know. Emma was fine, and I think Wes were my first 2 followers, and they were the only ones I was going to let follow.
Yeah.
Like, this page was for me. But then they both reached out to me and were like, this is, like, really inspiring what you're doing and stuff. So I ended up changing my philosophy, though, and it didn't become... It was about weight loss at first, you know, and being healthier. And then, so I picked myself up, I believed in myself again, and I changed my philosophy into loving myself first. And along the way, I had found some other Instagram accounts of women who have had, like, eating disorders and stuff, and, like, how they've changed, and it always comes back down to, like, self-love. So... And I realized how much of this world, we have like an epidemic, not just an obesity epidemic, but we have an epidemic of people who do not truly love themselves or don't think they're worth anything, you know. And I think that's what really stems from a lot of problems from. So I started, you know, changing what I was writing, and I was very vulnerable, you know. I started posting my body, admitting my weight number. I remember that day freaked me out.
Yeah.
I had watched this really inspiring show that morning, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I had said how much I weigh, which I had not admitted to anyone since I was probably 8 years old, unless Mom saw at the doctor's. Like, like no one knew my true weight. And that was so vulnerable. But to feel the support behind me while I'm doing all of this has been great. And that's the thing. Like, you feel like you have to be perfect, and you feel like you have to be this size 00, perfectly eats vegetables every single meal and is always happy and stuff. But no one in this world is that, and everyone gets that. And when they see that, they're so supportive of it, you know, and of people's flaws. But it's just so not out there. Like, it's starting to become a thing, definitely. We're having medias that are developed towards that. But, and I finally started letting other people follow my account, and now I have, like, 54 followers. And it's scary every time, you know, when I have, you know, like, more people. I remember I have a girl who... one of her friends doesn't really like me, and that was scary because I was like, maybe they're just following this account to make fun out of me.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, if they're gonna make fun of me, that's okay. But this is me being raw and real, and people relate to that and like it. So it's been pretty good and life-changing.
Well, and I actually read an interesting chapter today from Rachel Hollis, and it was titled "I'm a Terrible Writer." And in there, she talks about someone else's opinion of you is none of your business, and she's talking about it from the point of being a creator, but she had a couple good quotes where she says, you produce because you can't not do it, because you believe your creation deserves to be out in the world. You have to be willing to put it out there even if they don't like it. And then she's talking about when she started writing, and she's like, I started at this desk alone without an audience to read my work. I'll stay here as long as I've got words jumbling around in my head, whether or not there's anyone to receive them. And I think that's like a huge reminder too of like going back to believing in whatever it is that you're creating or manifesting or dreaming about, is the fact that it means something to you. And that whole point of, I think that we like to conform, and we like to people to like what we're saying and to accept what we're saying, though, from like a like very tribal thing. Like we used to have to stick together as a tribe in order to survive in the world, and if you were an outsider, you wouldn't have a tribe necessarily. It was hard to come in contact with other tribes.
Yeah.
Wow. So I like evolutionary stuff.
Yeah.
So I just like to think why we behave the way that we behave, and I think this really comes back to that. I think it's very natural to have that desire to conform to your group, because your group is your survival. But the reality is today we have so many ways to get into contact, so many means of transportation, so many means of communication, that you can make your group who you want it to be. And you're gonna find where who you are in other people, and it's gonna resonate with other people. So it's always so important to stay true to yourself as a creator, as a dreamer, as a manifester, whatever you're going for in your life. So
yeah,
I think that's what you've probably experienced through this Instagram account, with being vulnerable about your experience in health.
Yeah, because it's not. Now I know that I am helping other people from feedback, but it was more about me, just putting myself out there, because the more you own up to your fears or what scares you, or admit these are my flaws, and putting it out there, the more real it is, and you have to deal with it forefront.
Oh yeah.
So that was what it more was like.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned that from you the most too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is me.
Right.
And I can't take it back. It's on social media. Anyone can really. It is a private account, but
I think it's also too accepting that we all have flaws. So even so my health journey is a lot different from yours, and I wouldn't say that I struggle in the ways that you struggle, but I struggle in different ways, basically, is my whole point. And so the point is, though, you can strive for these goals and things, but you're always going to have these flaws, and you're always going to have these challenges that you're working on. And I think another big part of self-acceptance is to be okay with the fact that if the people are supposed to be in your life, then they're going to forgive you for the mistakes that you've made, too.
For sure. And you have to forgive yourself, too.
Right.
Because I still have my days where I will revert back to the other day I ate bad all day, what is bad all day? Even just that word, I need, I'm working on changing that. I just ate when
you didn't eat the way that made you feel good.
Good, yes. Yeah. And I felt kind of lousy, and whenever you feel lousy, then you start, you have this storm of negative self-thoughts. Right. And I just let it spiral down, and I was like, oh, I just gained all the weight back. And then I woke up the next morning, and I was like, look at that. I didn't gain all the weight back. That's impossible. Right. And, but it was a reality. Even when I have, more days that I'm in that positive self-talk than negative compared to what I usually used to be, I'm still always going to have days where I beat myself up, and that's okay. Right. But, you're just trying to love yourself, and you're gonna have your ups.
Well, I had one of those days the other day, and it was funny because I haven't had one in a while. I've been really good. So for me, I'm much more of I have an X, Y, and a Z. So my X is I usually do something athletic outside, like a bike or a run. That usually calms me down. Second thing is I always it's part of my habit now to meditate, and then I'm a very good meal prepper now. So then when I'm stressed, I have my meals already made and ready to go. But then this last day of work, it's been consecutively a challenge for me, and I kind of reverted back to my old ways of coping with stress. And I eat a vegan diet for a lot of reasons, but it also makes me feel the most energy and the most it just makes my body feel good. So I didn't eat vegan that day. I came home, I sat on the couch and I watched a movie, and I got on social media and I cried, which was probably a good thing, but I went back to all these old ways, and luckily I knew my final step to, like, when I don't feel good is I just put myself to bed. And I was able to get myself off the couch after a while, brush my teeth, and put myself in bed because I was like, I know after I sleep I'll feel better. And it's a lot of times when I'm fatigued. But then I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh my gosh. I think it was almost a good reminder for me to like having gone through how horribly I felt then, and I was like, that's why I have my plan in place. Like, that's why I go for walks after work if I'm feeling like this. This is why I call a friend. This is why I meal prep. This is why I prepare for these moments ahead of time of when I'm so stressed, so exhausted that I'm going to revert back to coping mechanisms that don't actually make me feel good.
Yeah.
And I don't have like the consciousness in those moments to choose the choice that I know is going to make me feel good. I have the immediate choice. Yeah. So I know the chocolate's going to make me feel good in 5 seconds. For sure. But in 30 minutes, it's going to make me feel sick to my stomach. So it was really, so I think that points to a larger picture too of this health journey that you've been talking about, of like, also, and what we've been talking about this whole podcast of, you're going to fail. And sometimes it's good to fail because it reminds you of the choices that you've made to get yourself off the ground.
Yeah. And you're going to fail again. You're going to have that day. That's a bad day. Right. That's just, that's life,
And that's why you've gone through this journey and found out these choices that make you feel good.
Yeah. And I've had to drop, I think one of my biggest problems besides just dieting is my perfectionist in me, and I've always known that with school, but I'm very much a perfectionist in life. So, for me, it was always to do a diet, I had to do it perfectly. So when I fell off the wagon, I would fall off big time and give up. But you're never going to be perfect in something. You're never going to have a perfect diet or perfect lifestyle. There's always going to be days where you fall off. So dropping that for me.
And accepting that those imperfect days are part of the journey. Yeah. They remind you why you chose the journey. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't know happiness if you never had sadness.
Right.
I do want to point out, I think it's good that you said something about vegan and how that gives you a lot of energy. Right. I think one of my biggest things is, there's so many diets out there, and I think, everyone who promotes it swears by that diet, and I've really learned that every human has a unique diet that really works for them.
Definitely.
And learning what diet really works for you, and embracing that. And that's not going to be something that you need to promote for everyone in the world to have. Because it just doesn't, that's not, everybody's body works differently, and fuels up. So if it makes you feel really good, then that's awesome.
Right.
But don't try to shove it down everyone's, not that you do that or anyone does that, but I'm just saying,
Right.
Learn that
But I think it's also important to be mindful. I guess I more said that, to be mindful of the fact that when you're putting food in your body, to recognize how it makes you feel afterwards.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think, I just think that's a tool. that's a tool to add to your toolbox of when you're, sad and you're trying to pull yourself off the ground. I think one of the areas that you can go to is the food that you're eating, the amount of sleep that you're getting, the water you're drinking, and the type of activity you're giving your body. And to be mindful in all of those areas so that you're making a plan that's best going to help you live the best life that you want. For sure.
That's my point. You're very individualized to yourself, so find out what works for you and have that in your toolbox that we keep referring to.
Right. So do you feel like you have any aspirations or dreams for this for this Instagram page that you've built, or this health journey that you're on? Do you have like a...
Yeah, I still feel like I have a long ways to go, and I always will be growing, but I think I've really started tapping into learning about self-development lately. Like, I've been listening to a podcast by Gabby Mall. She's someone whose journey has been very similar to mine, but I've really learned not only is it self-love, it's self-development, and learning even more about yourself and ways you grow and who you are as a person. And I don't think we'll ever, you never truly know yourself. You're constantly growing, and it's all dependent on the time in your life. So I think that's just been really interesting to me, and like learning more about ways you can develop yourself. That's why I've gotten really back into journaling again and listening to these podcasts. Like never taking no for an answer was, or not, or like if something's your dream, you're going to go for it. That was something that I
took from the Rachel Hollis book.
Yeah. So I think that's like where I'm going with the journey right now, but it's always going to be a journey. There's always going to be something that interests me and sparks me, and it's going to be a journey for the rest of my life. Who knows? For the Instagram page, I never even imagined having like 54 followers. So who knows what it'll go. My goal is always, if I could help one person who's struggling, one person to maybe have one moment where they realize that they're worth so much more than they realize, or that if they feel like they love themselves, that's worth it to me. So that's, if I could just help one person, then it's worth it to me, which I know I have helped people because people have reached out to me. So that's what really, is my plan. And I do hope to put it out there even more and like promote it, on my own social media account. That's just like my regular page, but that's scary to me, and I'm not ready to take that step, but I will, eventually.
Right. And maybe that's part of like your like a goal that you have.
Yeah, it's definitely, today I put it under my bio, which that was a big step for me, just having it like connected to my account.
Right.
Just because it's literally every vulnerability that I felt. I've talked about depression, not really much my anxiety, but somewhat. Talked about binge eating, and the one summer that I ate 800 calories a day and worked out like crazy and was so exhausted. I've talked about everything, So.
Well, I think there is an interesting part to all of this journey and moving forward. Once you kind of start something, maybe like paving a path for whatever it is that you want to create, or whatever goal you have, to creating a dream behind it. And Rachel Hollis has this chapter in the book called the chapter is called I'm Gonna Marry Matt Damon, and she has a quote in here, and it's about dreaming, and she's like, a huge part of my success is built in my imagination, the ability to pick out a daydream and then fixate on it, sometimes sometimes for years. And she goes on to talk about some fantasies are instrumental in helping us reach our goals, and some fantasies are silly, but they give us something to think about. And I think that's, for me too, like part of a health journey and a self-love journey is figuring out what lights up your soul and makes you so excited to get out of bed every day. And I liked what she said about some fantasies are instrumental in helping us reach our goals, but then some are just silly and give us something to think about. And I think when you have, you're going to have your down days, and you're going to have experiences that you don't want to be a part of anymore, but they're going to help you reach a different end goal, or help you in some way you might not know in the moment. But to have that fantasy or something that just excites you just to think about is a really good tool to add to your toolbox as well, in order to pull yourself out of those dark down times. Like, okay, I'm here at work, I've gone through 10 hours of these experiences that I didn't want to go through. I'm just gonna go to this fantasy that I love, that I'm working towards because I'm here at this job. And that's like a way, it's almost like an imagery way, almost like kind of like, I wonder if that's how hypnosis works, but it pulls you out of your current reality, takes you to another reality as a coping mechanism for pulling you out of this down place, versus continuing to fixate on, all these horrible things have happened to me today, I didn't want to be a part of this. Okay, switching it, this is my dream, or my what I've been working towards, and just daydreaming about that for a minute to pull you up.
I would say that's definitely true. I don't even know. It's funny, it's become such a passion of mine because I've realized how many people out there are like me, and the fact that like so many of us don't really love and respect ourselves. And so I think it is a passion of mine to put my story and my journey out there to help others, but I never even realized that, like, it's just, I mean, we are currently in the weeks where I'm realizing, like, this is such a passion of mine.
Right.
So I haven't really thought about my dream.
Right.
It would,
But I don't even think it has to be that big of a thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, like, I love this health and fitness page, you know.
yeah.
So then when
It's
you're at
just
a
fun
down
to post
point,
on.
you can
Yeah.
just daydream about that.
Yeah.
You know, so you're like, oh, I'm having this crappy day. Wow, my fitness page.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that's what I
definitely.
do when
Yeah.
I'm at work. I think
Yeah.
about, oh, all the places I can travel with my van.
Yeah, no, that's
It's like-
true. Because
it's
I have to
silly, but it
learn, like,
works.
I have to learn a lot about, you know, of stuff to post. Not like I have to think of stuff to post, but I
Yeah.
like learning and listening to podcasts or reading books or
Right.
looking at other people's Instagrams and taking stuff from it and learning stuff for myself. And
Right.
I think that's what's cool about it, is it's gotten me to look more out into the world and learn more stuff.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
awesome, because it, like, inspires me to keep looking and learning and growing, and
Right.
then share that on my own.
Right.
So that's what's kind of cool, even if it's only, you know, 54 followers forever, or if
Right.
it goes down to 1, or if it goes down to 0, like, it still inspires me to keep finding new things that I learned so I can
Right.
share.
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like that also is another thing of, like, so the reason I started this podcast because it was something that scared me, but I enjoyed it when I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's brought about this whole new, very similarly, like, it's a creative outlet that continues to challenge me to explore different forms of podcasts, different forms of relating to people, different topics to connect on people with that I wouldn't have expected to.
Mm-hmm.
And that spontaneity of that connection, I've really enjoyed it. I've learned that part of myself through this podcast, but it was something I never, like, I didn't
Yeah.
start out knowing that.
Yeah.
And I didn't, I definitely didn't have that, I didn't even know that was going to be a thing from this. But
Yeah.
I think that's the
It's-
fun part of starting something,
It's
is
all
you just
about
have
the
to
journey.
jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something, sparks, you never know until you try. You never know where something's going to go.
Right.
So,
Wonderful.
life, man. It's a crazy world. All about
Speaking-
that journey.
Yeah, and we're about to jump into something we both have never done. We're going to go bouldering after this. So
Woo-hoo. Yeah.
I think we might hop on over there.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Let's do it. Try something that scares you.
All right. Thanks for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye, Sissy Poo Poo.
Bye-bye. My butt is numb. Oh, I hope you